the problem is really additional variables that are going into play, supply and demand, that are really constricting at different points along the pathway. So you mentioned a few. One, you have to find students who are interested in going into that career. They have to have an interest. Number two, they have to have an aptitude to be able to go in, especially when it comes to the sciences. They have to come to our programs with that aptitude, and then we have to have the curriculum, the instructors to be able to teach it. And another constricting point that not very many people realize are nursing instructors. There is such a huge need for nursing practitioners out in the hospitals, the clinics, that many schools struggle to get them away to come in to be teachers. So oftentimes our capacity is driven by how many instructors we can hire, how many of them we can pry from the private sector to come in and say, hey, why don't you teach instead of practice? So then we get the right students, we get the right number of students, we get the aptitude of the students ready to go, we get the number of instructors that we need. Now we get them into the curriculum and get them taking classes. We need to do it in an affordable way. We need to do it in a way that the students can be able to succeed and complete their programs. And then depending on the health science programs, depending on the nursing programs, that might require clinicals. Well, that's another constricting point because that's outside of the public institution. Those are in the clinics and in the hospitals, and we need them as partners to work with us to be able so that we can place those nursing students out so that we can place these health students out into these programs to get clinical. So all along the way, there are constricting points. Just like if we were to say we want to build more homes, well, we have land, great, we're going to build more homes. Well, again, it's not as easy as that. We need to think about supply and demand in different steps along the way. So oftentimes it's really identifying. We might have the will to teach more students. It's whether or not we have the instructors. It's whether or not we have the aptitude, the interest of students to be able to come in. Now, when it comes to a nursing program, for example, usually getting students in is not a problem. Students know that there are jobs out there. Students know that they're most likely going to have a job before they even finish. So getting students in, and we do a great job on the public K through 12 side. Their aptitude is there. We're getting smart students in.
Okay, great.
We're getting a great number of students in. Are we getting enough instructors in to increase the cohort size? Do we have the equipment, the classrooms? The other constricting point, and we know this because we just unveiled and cut the ribbon on a brand new simulation lab on our Pocatello campus. The nursing students need to learn in an environment that matches what they're going to get in a modern day hospital. We can't be teaching them in labs, in classrooms and experience that are 20 years old. So when they graduate, they go into a hospital and they aren't going to know how to use the equipment. They aren't going to recognize anything. So we need to make sure that our teaching and learning environment is up to date. Well, those are resources, and that is capital. Now, oftentimes we can get public-private partnerships to be able to help with that, but that's another constricting point too. So what I tell people is there is a will, but all along the way we have to think about where those constricting points are, and they aren't, it's not like they're unsolvable. We just have to pay attention to them, recognize that they exist, and say, okay, we're going to solve that. We're going to go after that. How do we get more instructors? How do we attract more nurses out of the private sector in to want to teach? How do we solve the resource and the capital needs that we have to have, the classrooms and the equipment to be able to teach modern curriculum? How do we make sure that when these students, as part of their practicum experience, as part of their clinical experience, are able to get out into clinics and hospitals and they have a positive and a good experience, so when they graduate, they will have had real world experience? So you have to think about those variables, those constricting points all along the way. And the bottom line is you just solve for them. Now, Idaho State University, we've been solving for those problems for decades. And again, I'm not saying that we can do in all programs, we can do it by ourselves because we need help and we look to our sister institutions. But with the experience that we have, the decades that we've been doing this, we know where those constricting points are. And frankly, we know how to solve them. We just sometimes need the resources to be able to do that, and we need the support to be able to address those needs.